The Fifth Element is without a doubt my favorite action movie ever. Of course, like many other blockbusters of the time, it had its own game, an action-adventure title developed by Callisto Entertainment, the creators of Nightmare Creatures, and published in 1998 by a variety of big names like Activision, Sony, and Ubisoft. I'd like to share a personal story I have about this game. When I was a little kid, my dad bought me a pre-made Intel Pentium 3 PC. He also bought me 2 games to go along with it, and out of all the games he could have chosen, he bought The Fifth Element and Star Wars The Gungan Frontier. Those were my first gaming experiences, which led to a rabbit hole of unfortunate circumstances I like to call my life. And I used to play the fuck out of this game when I was young. I played it so much, in fact, that I managed to get to level 2. Of course, when I grew up and had years of gaming experience, I played it again, and astonishingly, I made it to level 5. This game has 16 levels, or missions as it likes to call them. You can already tell things are gonna get really bad. But how about we take it one step at a time and see if this game actually has any redeeming qualities? Let's talk about the game's story. And yes, I know what you're thinking. Dude, are you seriously gonna explain the Fifth Element's plot like some content farm channel? You are gravely mistaken. You see, even though this game uses plot elements and scenes from the movie itself, it has an entirely different story. How the hell is that even possible, you ask? I guess the original script just wasn't action-packed enough for the game. So instead, you have Corbin Dallas breaking into the nuclear lab to activate Lilu's reconstruction process, which leads to his arrest. Lilu then breaks into the police station, frees him, and they both escape. But oh no, Father Cornelius is captured by Zorg. Thankfully, our heroes rescue him, blowing up Zorg's headquarters while running away from the police in the depths of New York. Eventually, they make their way to the airport, where they prevent Zorg from being a little disappointed by dismantling his booby-trap phone booths. Our heroes then board the flight to Floston Paradise, defeat the Mangalores attempting to hijack the shuttle, and reach their destination. Of course, nothing goes right at Floston Paradise either. Zorg booby-traps the place, Cornelius is captured again, and Diva Plava Laguna gets shot. It's fine though, we've been collecting the stones and their activators throughout this whole adventure. So after our heroes defeat Zorg and free Cornelius, they travel to Egypt, collect the final sacred stone, and with all of them in place, they manage to defeat the moon from Majora's Mask. I mean, absolute evil. It's insane to me that they straight up used horribly compressed scenes from the movie just to create a fan fiction of the main story. And you wanna know something really funny? Bruce Willis, the actor playing the main character of the movie, doesn't show up anywhere in the game's cutscenes, and his in-game model barely looks like him. How the fuck are you making a movie-licensed video game without the lead actor's likeness? It boggles my mind, just like the game's plot, which is just generic nonsense, nothing at all like the movie's original script. You know what? For a movie-licensed game, the presentation is actually solid. Shocking, isn't it? But yeah, despite the PS1's limitations, the Fifth Element manages to deliver an interesting and atmospheric experience, at least graphics-wise. Each level is a good representation of the movie's iconic areas, with detailed textures, vibrant colors, and dynamic color lighting that really makes the scenes pop. Maybe a bit too much sometimes. Even the enemies you fight look just like the characters in the movie, for the most part at least. Eventually they do run out of ideas, and make you fight random polygonal zombies, aliens, and robots that have absolutely nothing to do with the movie. But at least there's some variety, I guess. Sure, sometimes textures are being repeated throughout certain areas, the draw distance is almost non-existent, the polygon count is way too low, and there is a thick layer of fog enveloping everything. But you can't fault the game for that, it's just how the graphics were at the time. My only real complaint is Lilu's player model. She's like a stick figure for fuck's sake. I get it, Mila Jovovich is a slim lady, but here it looks like they made her in Pivot Animator. At least the effects are juicy and the animations are nice, unlike the music. Okay, I can't be too hard on it, since they do use some of the excellent tracks from the genius Eric's era. But they totally beefed the looping, since they just abruptly fade out and begin again. As for the rest of the soundtrack, it's just extremely short and repetitive loops that make the whole experience a lot more annoying. Oh, there is also a glitch where the sound effects play several seconds late. That's just great, isn't it? Overall, it's a nice game to look at, but some of the character models and levels don't fit with the movie's general aesthetic, and the soundtrack is generic and annoying when it tries to be original. And the worst is yet to come. The worst has come. Yeah, that didn't take very long. It's time to talk about the gameplay. So this game uses the same engine as Nightmare Creatures, and you know what that means, right? Tank controls, baby, we love to see it. At least you can sidestep and turn around on the spot to make things more bearable, but somehow they made the overall movement clunkier than in their previous game. Walking and running around feels way heavier, and turning is very slow. Sidestepping and rolling are also slower and cover a shorter distance than in Nightmare Creatures. Jumping is so floaty that it feels like you're in space. But it will take a while to notice all of the game's faults, since the first level is fairly straightforward. Playing as Corbin Dallas, you have a miserable kick for melee combat, but can use a variety of weapons, like his pistol, the Mangalore gun, is that really what it's called? The ZF-1 with almost all of its secondary modules, and the Electro gun, which is the most powerful gun in the game. Makes sense really, it's the only weapon that wasn't in the movie. Anyway, the first level is fairly uneventful, besides shooting some ugly aliens and scientists that throw grenades and shoot at you from beyond the game's draw distance. Lovely stuff. But then it's time to play as Lilu, and things get even more sucky. Lilu is primarily a melee fighter, but can also throw grenades and use a psionic blast that can kill every enemy surrounding her, you know, just like in the movie. Melee combat is extremely sluggish, with your attack range being way too short and lacking the lock-on feature Nightmare Creatures had. Fighting multiple enemies is painful since they just surround you and pummel you into submission, ignoring your attacks due to the horrible hit detection. But you know what? You get used to the combat and the movement eventually, and the game is quite lenient with its lives and power-ups. But there is something that is so ungodly and irredeemably awful that just ruins any enjoyment you could get out of this game: the level design. It is the worst I have ever experienced in a game. Oh man, where do I even begin? Everything looks the same, okay? Every level is just a giant maze of incoherent corridors and rooms lacking any logic connecting them. And if that's not enough, you have to constantly backtrack to find new items and ways to progress and unlock more random rooms just so you can unlock even more random rooms and so on until the end of the game. But that's still not enough, god damn it, because you'll never know what can be interacted with and it's never clear what you have to do to move on to the next area. One of my favorite parts is in the airport level, where you have to find a random sprite resembling a jacket and interact with it to get the item you need. Or what about mazes with invisible teleporters that send you back to the previous checkpoint, unless you memorize a random texture that is actually the map? Nothing makes sense, nothing looks interactive, and the game's logic is all over the place. You just have to interact with anything that looks vaguely interactive and hope for the best. Combine that with the precision platforming that the game demands from you on a tank control scheme no less, and it's just so miserable. And to top it all off, most of the game's missions have to be completed by both Lilu and Corbin, as if going through this nightmare once isn't enough. I'm sorry, but I had to use cheats just to be able to show you some of the levels. It's that bad. When Ruby Rod screams at the start of each level, it's a warning, a cry for help. Run while you can. God damn it, how do I even sum up this shit? Shooting down enemies can be vaguely fun, and it's interesting exploring around finding secrets and cool set pieces from the movie. But the melee combat and the platforming are extremely frustrating, and the levels are clearly designed by a crazy person, as they are nonsensical and confusing as fuck. Overall, an incredibly annoying experience. This game is terrible. Yeah, the graphics are nice, the effects meaty, and the animation's fluid. But the story is nonsense, the gameplay way too clunky and slow, and the level design is obnoxious, badly paced, and repetitive. It's an extremely frustrating game to play, and nothing like the movie whatsoever. Don't be fooled by its appearance, or else you'll regret it, like I have. Just play Nightmare Creatures instead. It looks and plays much better than this pile of garbage. And that's all I had to say about the fifth element. Thank you very much for watching, I hope you enjoyed it. Leave a like if you did, comment your thoughts below, and subscribe for more stuff. You know how it goes. You can also join my Discord and follow me on Twitter. Have a great day, and until next time, take care and have fun.